focus tonight, college students in the 80s, their causes and their goals. We'll look at what motivates them and what worries them. And we'll talk to them about ethics and morality in this special edition of Nightline, coming to you live from the campus of Southern Connecticut State College in New Haven. We'll also be looking at life on campus at the University of Virginia. But our guests tonight are all students and faculty from Southern Connecticut State College.
This is ABC News Nightline. Tonight, reporting live from New Haven, Connecticut, Ted Koppel.
Good evening. College students have almost always been something of a mystery to the rest of the human race. In theory, at least, college marks the last way station on the evolutionary road from childhood to maturity. But that final burst of adolescence can last a long time and takes many different forms. No single student or college is typical of all the rest. But just as during the 1960s, colleges were swept by anti-war sentiment, by sit-ins and marches and other demonstrations, so too during the 1950s, political apathy was a phrase frequently used to describe campuses across America. But what, if anything, marks the mood of this college generation? We'll have no definitive answers, but we certainly can expect tonight to get a flavor. First stop, the University of Virginia.
We do have a reputation, a notorious reputation, for just drinking all the time, which we do. But we study very, very hard, and I think that the people here who party that hard, 9 times out of 10, really deserve that opportunity to just kick it out and let it go for a week on Easter's week or on openings weekend or any one of the big weekends where all the fraternities are going full steam ahead with the bands and the keg parties, and you can just roam around on Rigby Road, and I mean, it's as crowded as it will be tomorrow night in Halsey Hall for grad happy hour.
Give an excuse to have a really big party, anybody will go to it. All you need is an excuse. On any weeknight, whether it's like a Monday or a Friday, you're going to find people out drinking down, partying around. From the outside, the school has an excellent reputation, so if you graduate, your chances of getting a decent job are really pretty good. And that's one good thing about the school. That's one of the best things, especially if you're going in the E-school or the comp school or one of the graduate schools. If you graduate from Virginia, you've got a job.
So we need to volunteer. I'd like a young lady with green eyes. And will you have a seat right here?
I believe that it has a reputation for doing a good job in education and for turning out graduates who not only are well educated, but have a deep regard for integrity and a real desire to excel. And I think it really grows from the fact that the students here have always been given a much greater degree of freedom and responsibility that goes along with it to conduct their affairs. They have generally operated under fewer institutionally imposed restrictions, regulations. The historic example here is the honor system, which has its roots in the mid-1800s. And it's one of the few honor systems that's still functioning. And I think one of the reasons that it survived and that it still flourishes here is that the final authority with regard to students suspected of lying, cheating, or stealing is vested in the student body.
Once a student arrives at the university, he is totally trusted to take care of his own behavior, to be honorable, and no one else is going to tell him what he should and shouldn't do. It's up to him to live up to this community standard.
I believe that the moral fiber of the student body here is very high.
Any kind of anything that looks like an injustice to them, they take very seriously and take serious measures to correct.
We have a strong tradition of excellence, and we strive for excellence in everything we do. And our football team hasn't been doing so well.
Final score, Carolina 17, Virginia 14.
course, the biggest change has come since the university has become co-ed.
Before women were here, it was a gentleman's school, and anyone would have told you that. In fact, the honor pledge used to be on my honor as a gentleman. And I think that the traditions, some of the ideas and values that went along with the tradition of Southern gentlemen have had to be sacrificed a little bit. And I think it's for the better of the university. With girls here, more men stick around. Everybody sticks around more because there are the women here. Academically, the women have proven themselves. As a matter of fact, as far as any quantitative measures, I think from everything I've heard, they come out ahead of the men.
I like living in the dorms. I think it's really good. I heard a lot of bad things about it, but none of them are true that I found.
It's kind of a simulation of real life. You know, you live with other people, you know, co-ed is the way to go.
It bothered me at first, you know, to think that the girls were going to be right up there, and it might be a distraction, but it's really not.
We make our own rules, and it's up to the suite what they want. Our suite has 24-hour visitation.
And if your roommate has her boyfriend up for the weekend, then you could always sleep in the living room.
Some roommate shacked up with his, girl. He'll just have to go down the hall and knock on the door and say, "Can I sleep here tonight?" They, sure.
Of course, you get a little frustrated. I mean, I guess that's only natural. But there's so much to do here. You can always find something. You can go to the library. There's always lots of homework you can catch up on. Or you can just go talk to a friend. There's plenty to do to compensate.
Oh, I've seen fire and I've seen rain.
I think there's a different kind of partying that goes on here at Virginia. It's more of a moral party than you would find on most other college campuses. And here, you party to get to know people. You party to make friends and to develop those in-depth relationships.
Well, the most serious drug problem, of course, is alcohol abuse. That's probably true of most universities. But drugs, as we normally speak of them, marijuana use is probably the same that you'd find in most major institutions. It's pretty widespread. But other hard drugs, we see very little of that here.
You can find them if you want them. And if you are the kind of person who's not interested, nobody tries to force them down your throat.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order.
In the 80s, we're a lot more educated and aware of things, and we take a much more mature outlook about things. And I don't think it's all total carefree, do whatever you want. I think people still retain their traditions and their upbringing.
Study hard and party hard. You're supposed to get good grades, but you're not supposed to let that keep you from having a good time. And you better have a good time, or else you're a geek.
We're certainly not ashamed of the party image. I think that it's healthy. Social life is an important part of growing up. It's an important part of your college life. And I have no qualms with the party image, so long as people do see the other things that we're about. Virginia, 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 Virginia.
That was an attempt to get a feeling for students in the 1980s and what they are about. Just one campus, just an attempt. When we return, we'll try to learn more as we talk live with students in our audience here at Southern Connecticut State College in New Haven.
Wednesday.
I want to make a statement to this court.
But the verdict is in.
We, the jury, find the defendant
Blake Carrington, guilty or innocent. Find out on Dynasty.
We're broadcasting tonight from Engelman Hall at Southern Connecticut State College in New Haven. With us about 250 students and faculty members. We will talk to as many as time permits. I'd like to begin on the subject of goals. What do you expect out of college? What do you think college ought to do for you?
I think that college is a very important part of my life, and I'm doing this all on my own. I haven't taken any financial support from my parents at all, and I think because of that I appreciate it a lot more. And I'm hoping that college will help me get a better job than I would otherwise.
All right, let me ask you, and I realize this is going to be kind of a difficult thing for us to do. It's a very informal kind of poll. How many of you are in college for what could be called an academic experience, for an education, and how many, wait until I finish the question, how many of you are here because you think, as this young lady does, that it'll help you get a better job? Academic experience. And how about the job? All right, so it's a little of both with many of you. Let's talk about the academic experience. Who wants to respond on the subject of academic experience? This gentleman right here in the brown sweater.
I feel that a well-rounded education is definitely beneficial to anyone who wants to go on in a future career. And without that learning experience and the well-rounded education you get in a college, you're really not capable of fulfilling your goals. And personally, you know, to go on in education, I feel that the college level is where you have to start from.
Okay. I made the comment when we began that if there was something that marked the college generation of the 1960s, it was kind of a political involvement, political awareness. Now, I realize at that time we had the Vietnam War to contend with. Is there an issue today that really concerns many of you and that you think concerns many other college students around the country? All right, let's go to the gentleman here in the checkered shirt.
I think the problem of nuclear war frightens a lot of college people, what are we heading for as far as that's concerned, nuclear issues?
What is it particularly, I mean, beyond the kind of abstract notion that someday the world may go to war and we all may be wiped out, what particularly bothers you?
Well, are we building for tomorrow by the use of bombs, or are we trying to reinstate social programs? I don't think we're giving enough money to social programs, and we're giving more to defense spending.
All right, let's follow that up, and I'd like to hear from someone here about how you feel college students ought to become involved in that, if indeed it's something you think you ought to become involved in. Is it just something, again, that you consider in abstract terms, or is it something you feel needs organization? Is this the kind of thing that moves college campuses or students of the 1980s to action? The gentleman up there in the brown jacket.
Well, if we look at the events in Europe and we see the people protesting against the bomb, I feel that in the United States, we too should follow that example. This is not to say that we should support, say, the Soviet view that banning the bomb is going to help their cause. But we have to realize that the Soviet Union and the United States have to limit the bombs because the chances are there. History, I'm a history major, and history has taught us so many times what happens when you have proliferation of arms. They're going to be used. Man must learn to love each other. These things are important, but what's happening? Our values are destroyed. We must learn to love each other.
All right, let me just ask the rest of you, because some of you, I think, are a little bit embarrassed because the young man is kind of emotional on this subject. Do you feel emotional about that subject? Is that something that turns you on, or is it the kind of thing that other people can do? This gentleman over here in the white sweater.
I personally feel that that's something that we can't really, that shouldn't be our priority right now. When we're faced every day with Reaganomics, which is 80% of the school is on some sort of financial aid of one form or another, which is being cut back through the educational allotments. And I think that's something that we can focus in on, or we should focus in on, something that we can do something about here and now while we're at college.
Yes, but what about the world? We're talking about the world, not just the United States.
All right, go ahead. We don't want to let this degenerate into polemics, but go ahead and respond.
Well, I think that we really can't take, we can't take the world into our hands in college. It's something that we just can't really do anything about right now. We have to focus.
The strongest power in the world. We are in control.
We as students, our first priority right now is to get through college. We as students are the voice of the nation.
All right, let's take that as a byword. And if you'll forgive me then, you've had 3 opportunities now. Let's give someone else a chance to talk. How many of you think that you are, in fact, the conscience of the nation? The gentleman in the black jacket.
No, I don't think we are the voice of the nation. We have our opportunity to go to college, but yet when we're either supported by parents or financially supported by the government, we really don't have the right to say that we are the voice of the government when we're being supported by the government, the federal government, the state government, or parents. I don't think our main priority right now should be nuclear, the efforts to stop a nuclear war.
What's your main priority?
To graduate, to pay loans, and hopefully get a job in my field sometime.
That's so typical.
All right, excuse me. I don't want to have to ask you to leave, but I am going to ask you to give other people a chance to talk, okay? This gentleman down here, right behind you, if you just come down the aisle, wait until the man with the microphone gets to you. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I think I'm here for good education, but also as supposed to live in a community and acknowledge other people's feelings as well as your own. That means to know that other people have different goals and priorities and as yourself, and you should deal with them and take them into account and as yourself, and try to get as best involved as you can so you can be a better rounded self, and know that people have other problems and you have to help them out too.
How about social problems? Do people still get concerned on college campuses about social problems? The young lady right here. I don't know if that's the question you wanted to answer, but it's the one
Well, I
you got.
was going to comment on social issues now in the 80s. I think what we are experiencing now in college is a pressure to be able to cope with all the things that are happening. There is an increase in technology, and we're constantly being poked at and drained by all different things, and I think there's been a decrease in a family structure as a support system, and that increases, there's a freer sex. There's freer sex because people are going toward, they're trying to find some kind of support.
All right, when we come back, and we're going to come back in just a moment, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about morality and we'll talk about ethics and what your concept of both is. We'll continue in a moment. Continuing our discussion now from Engelman Hall at Southern Connecticut State College in New Haven. The subject of the moment, sex, drugs, drinking. How much of it goes on? To what degree do you think, without talking about you personally, to what degree do you think your parents would be shocked if they knew?
All right, what struck me about the University of Virginia piece was it's a much larger school in Southern here. And the person talked about like the 24-hour sign-in, sign-out thing in the dorms. I live in a dorm here. And we don't have that kind of freedom. At a large campus like that, you're a number, you're a social security number. But on a smaller campus here, you're a name, and although you have your own opportunities, you can do whatever you want, you still have that small amount of guidance. Or if you do mess up, and if you are heading on the wrong track, someone can pull you aside and say, hey, this isn't the way to go. Whereas in the University of Virginia, if you be the first semester and you're drinking and doing all kinds of partying, no one can stop you. You usually flunk out by January.
All right. All of them interesting points, but let's see if someone can address my question a little bit more directly. Sex, drugs, drinking, to what degree does it go on? Gentleman in the red jacket.
Well, I feel in relation to sex, I feel that it's starting at a much younger age. And I feel the parents are too afraid to tell the children about sex, you know, different methods.
Forgive me, let's not get into a general discussion of it. Let's see if we can just address the specific question. Do you think parents would be shocked if they knew how much sex went on at the college level?
Not so much shocked, just curious. So much.
All right, let's try the gentleman right behind you in the red sweater there.
Right here at Southern, and I work as a resident advisor, and it seems to me that many of the students who live in my building are not going around and sleeping with other people. I don't know what your experiences are, but I would say in general that the students at this school, and maybe other schools across the nation, are not taking every opportunity they have to sleep with other people or to party extensively.
All right, just move up the line to the gentleman with the beard.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I really don't think that people kind of jump into anything without making a moral decision about it. Southern is a smaller college, it's a community college, and I really think that the emphasis is on the individual person rather than on the group scene that we had, let's say, in the 60s. I don't think we see that so much anymore. I think we see a kind of community joint effort, and I think everybody really thinks about things before they make their decisions.
Let's take it away from Southern for a moment. Let me rephrase the question. What if you were talking about almost any other college? You don't have to mention the college. Friends that you know. Too much sex, too much drugs, too much drinking? The gentleman there with the jacket and the tie.
Yeah, I believe there's too much drinking because I've seen an abusive amount of drinking going on in not only this college, but other colleges.
And as for the resident advisor over there, I lived in dorms also, and they don't always know what's going on.
All right. Someone on this side, the young lady over there with the black bow tie.
Well, I think there is a lot of drinking, there's a lot of partying, but at the same time, I believe the students, if you look around on the campuses, they're clean cut, they dress up in that Virginia piece, they wear jacket and ties. I think they're keeping the parents happy, they're juggling the hard studying, the hard partying, and keeping in mind looking for a job also. I think that's a big concern.
Let me rephrase the question, and we're just about running out of time on this. To what degree is college satisfying the visions that you had, the dreams that you had of what it should do for you? The gentleman in the red shirt.
Well, I found myself studying more in college than in high school, and it's given me more gratification because I know what I want to go into.
Can you handle the freedom?
Oh yeah, definitely. I have I have a choice to go out, party with my friends, or do anything I want. But I find myself staying more studying for exams than going out drinking.
All right, one last question. The young lady in the blue back there, let me raise the question first of all. To what degree do you think you need guidance, whether it's from professors, parents, older friends?
Okay, well, my original statement was going to be that college experience socially and academically and for the future is for your individual basis only. Guidance is very important from advisors and professors and parents, and also from the peers and friends.
All right, let me leave it with one last question to all of you, and let's do it on the basis of raising hands. How many of you feel that you have as much freedom as you want, and how many of you feel that you would like more guidance? How about as much freedom as you want? That's almost all of you. And how many of you feel that you'd like a little more guidance? All right, on that point, I'm not going to guide you anymore. Thanks very much indeed. In a moment, a look ahead at tomorrow. Looking ahead at tomorrow, President Reagan will speak at the National Press Club tomorrow morning in Washington in what is billed as his first major foreign policy speech since he assumed office. ABC News will carry the president's speech live beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Our special thanks go tonight to the students and faculty at the University of Virginia, whom we visited by videotape, and to the students and faculty of Southern Connecticut State College, who've hosted us and shared their thoughts and observations with us this evening. The subject is inexhaustible, but you've been generous with your insights. Our thanks also to the management and staff of our affiliate in New Haven, WTNH Channel 8, for their help and support. That's our report for tonight. This is Ted Koppel in New Haven. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
This has been ABC News Nightline.
Sleep pure.